Hello everyone, this is Korosh Erfani and today is February 12, 2026. In this weekly program I am going to present one of my latest publication, which is an article that I published in the website ounce.com. Ounce.com, as you know, is presented as an alternative media selection. This is something that is normally containing the things that you cannot find in any other websites or in other mainstream media especially. So that's why it's a very interesting, rich, and full of interesting content that I recommend for those who are interested in research, investigation regarding different political and economic, social, and intellectual subjects. It could be related to the United States or even beyond. That's a critical point of view that had been developed over there through different books, articles, videos, interviews, and so on. So the article that I published there is entitled "The USA as Greater Israel and the World as Greater Middle East." The subtitle is "The Zionist Plan to Transform the USA into Greater Israel." If you go to ounce.com, you can find this article either in the first page or by searching my name, for example, Korosh Erfani, you can find it. In this video, I would like to give you just the main points of this article. I would like to underline the main topics, and then if you are interested, you can go to this website, find this article, and read it. It's a relatively long article of almost 20-25 pages, and is the result of a mini research that I did, because for the full research, of course, it could have been much more, right? Many more pages. But I tried to limit it as a long article, that's all. Okay, let's go through the different parts of this article and see what we have inside. The article starts with the idea of posing effectively the current condition of the world and trying to give a new idea about the concept of Greater Israel. Greater Israel has been conventionally, classically presented as current Israel in a bigger version, right? This is what we call Greater Israel. Just the geographic expansion of the current Israel. But I said that in the recent years we can see a change, right? And especially after October 2023, we have had a lot of different and unprecedented events that gave us an idea about maybe the necessity of redefinition of the concept of Greater Israel. And essentially, after the arrival of President Trump for the second term of presidency, we can see that, and that's why I try to formulate this idea of necessity of redefinition of the concept of Greater Israel. Let's see what it is. First, I explain the context of this change, how the concept started effectively to change. And in order to do so, I explain that we have to be interested in economy. If you want to find effectively a good pathway that can help you to analyze the transformation of the concept from a limited one to a bigger one, you can use economy to do so. So I explained that in the economy something that's happening, which is the accumulation of wealth in a historic level in the hands of few, right? And I presented different elements of information and reference in order to show that more and more wealth had been accumulated in the hands of the 1% at the top of the pyramid of wealth, right? The social structure. And interestingly, you can see that this 1% is accidentally, totally accidentally, maybe from the Judaic faith, right? They are Jews. So the reason is explained a little later, but we should know that in the part that is called the new frame of the U.S. economy, you can find a lot of elements that I presented, documented with the number, that something is happening at a given moment in the American economy that shows this accumulation is not normal. This accumulation is due to what we call globalization. And globalization means effectively going through the world and depleting everything that they have, right? And when you are doing so, of course, there are backlash, right? There are many negative consequences. So you have to deplete completely to plunder the natural resources. So you create climate change and many other environmental issues. You bring the earth, on the brink of climate apocalypse, as they said. And you have also to deplete a lot of countries, so impoverishment of many countries, and of course you try to disengage yourself from any help to the world, and in such a way you create the conditions in which the predictions are talking about 3 billion climate migrants in 2070, right? So this is what we did to the world, and we try to show that everything is fine as long as there are more and more wealth coming to the United States in the hands of a few, right? So we did so, but globalization brought also the phenomenon of competition at a global level, right? And we are talking about worldwide competition. And in this competition, some countries like China, for example, started to have an upper hand in many sectors compared to the American economy. So from a moment, we can see the change of attitude in among the leaders of the Western countries, but at the top of them, the United States, regarding any other economic powers across the world, right? We cannot bear them. We cannot really put up with them. That's why we start to use a different language. That's why we start to treat the world. That's why we want everything across the world if it's valuable. So why this change? Why this change of attitude? Why this change of narrative regarding the usual pillars of capitalism, which was the free market, competition, and so on? Why suddenly we want completely upside down, the table, and create a chaos in order to get everything here and there under our control? In order to understand that, we have to go to the origin of capitalism. And if we do so, we have to go through the history of after Renaissance in Europe, and then we see that capitalism had been a creation of Judaism. So this is not in an absolute term, of course, but we can see the huge role of the Jews in the creation of capitalism, the expansion of capitalism, the development of capitalism, and at a given moment using this control of economy, right, domination of economy, in order to go toward what? Toward anything else: society, politics, culture, education, and so on and so on. So that's why longly I explain the history of capitalism and the fact that they had been created and developed and established by Jews in order to create effectively a possibility for the domination over the world. At a given point in the article, I explained that what we thought as counter-capitalism, which means any left idea and left ideology, mainly had been created also by the Jews, right? I talk about Karl Marx, Lenin, Trotsky, Max Weber, and so on and so on, who suggested a version of capitalism that was not really true, right? Because they tried to give us an idea about capitalism as a normal evolution of feudalism, and they didn't explain why capitalism had been so bad, so anti-human, so eager to get wealth at any cost. It was not normal because there was a mutation. This is not the transformation, but the mutation. And this mutation is the installation of the Judaism over the economic system in Europe and transforming it in an unethical system. And this is this unethical system that developed and started to go overboard, conquering the world. This is what we call colonialism, right? Colonialism and later imperialism. But the issue here is that the idea that had been developed as counter-capitalism, as anti-capitalism, was completely fake, right? The objective of those who showed this fake pathway to us was just to distract us from the reality that the core of capitalism is a Jewish core, is a Judaic core, right? So we knew about the capitalist class, but we didn't know that this capitalist class is at a huge percent, as a huge proportion, only from the Judaic faith. And that's why I said that there was no really any successful endeavor, any successful undertaking, but the front that we called the front of left socialism or whatsoever. So the reason was that that was a fake pathway, that was a fake fight, that was not a real fight. So in the middle of that, we have the emergence of Zionism, right? Zionism started to be established as a kind of organization of anything that this supremacy of Judaism wanted to establish across the world. And they created even a country, a fake country called Israel. They invented history with nonsensical historic point, and the objective was to have effectively financial networking under control of the Zionists in order to suck a huge amount of money from the world. I even mentioned the example of Iran, for example, from the 1979 with the total occupation of Iran under the hands of Zionists through the Islamic Revolution, and started to have lots of money, billions and trillions across the world, bringing to this global Zionist network and at its core Israel, and then they transform it into a huge machine to dominate the war. So then through this process, they altered completely, they changed completely capitalism, right? And the capitalism became imperialism, and then we can call Zionist capitalism, Abrahamic capitalism, or whatever you want to call that, but this is it. And that's the idea. The accumulation of wealth and force in the hands of the Zionists gave this possibility to Israel to test any model of the global domination in a smaller scale in the Middle East. You know, any mass crime, genocide, occupation, or whatsoever had been tested and are already being tested over there in the Middle East, in Lebanon, on Gaza, on the West Bank. And later, the idea is to use all these techniques, tactics, and of course strategy at a global level. But this time not through Israel, but through the new Israel, which is the United States. That's the idea of greater Israel. There is one person that has a huge role in this conversion of the United States into greater Israel, which is Donald Trump. That's why I dedicated one specific part of this article to Trump and to the way that Israel framed him and brought him to the power with the collaboration of Epstein network, right, and AIPAC. And now he has to, give all the services that are requested by the Zionists that who brought him in the power and at the presidency. This is the list of the different services that Donald Trump rendered, in the first term. And in the second term, the idea is to use Trump to make huge steps in this process of transformation of the United States into greater Israel. So that's why I use one concept that had been developed by Jose Alberto Nino under the name of judo accelerationism. So the idea is that the Zionists want to accelerate the things. Why? Because they have the impression that they don't have time anymore. They don't have time to wait for after Trump or something. They want to achieve their goal during this second term of presidency of Trump in the United States. So, which means that beyond the first year that we have just passed, now they have 3 years in order to do anything. The war with Iran, the complete destruction of Middle East, and then going for Pakistan, Turkey, and so on and so on. All of these must be greatly, at least for a huge part of this process, must be done during the second term of presidency of Trump. So that's why they cannot really tolerate anything as impediment, as obstacle, and they eliminate, like they did for the Charlie Kirk, they eliminate everyone or everything that is on their way. All right. Toward the end of the article, I am asking this question: is America going to be greater Israel or not? We can see that everything that is doing is in the favor of Israel, right? Anything that Trump administration is doing, including we saw that for the Venezuela, for example, getting the control of the Venezuelan oil and then sending it to Israel, for example. In another article, you remember I talked about why Israel needs Greenland, right? So the idea is to get everything that greater Israel needs, not the current Israel, the greater Israel, the Israel of future needs by sacrificing the American economy, the American nation, the American future, and so on and so on. But I explained that in this pattern, in this process, there is also some contradictions, right? There are the internal contradictions, which is that capitalism cannot become totally, let's say, a military machine, right? This is what the Zionists want to do. They want to transform the United States and its economic power into a military might, right? A military force. And through that, getting to everything they want. That's the idea of the Zionist military-industrial complex, right? The famous military-industrial complex is now Zionist. So they want to do that, and in order to do so, they are trying to deceiving, to luring the big companies, the big corporation, so that they can have their cooperation in order to go everywhere with force, occupying the territories in Greenland, in Venezuela, in Iran, and so on, and get the control of their natural resources. This is what they want. But don't forget that this is something very risky. This is a huge gamble, right? So that's why we have a kind of fight between the part of capitalism which is still rational, and this part, the Zionist part, the Zionists with the idea of accelerationism, right? Accelerating everything, irrational, right? And there is a fight between these two parts, and we are going to see which part can effectively be victorious regarding the other one and get control of the world, right? Because don't forget that through this process, the irrational part, the Zionist capitalism, must completely destroy what we have in the United States as democracy and everything with that. I explained it, for example, freedom of speech, international law, peace, the value of the human life, the future of humanity, everything seriously, and of course environmental issues. Everything is at risk, everything is at stake if and only if this process achieves successfully, which means if the United States becomes officially the greater Israel. So that's why, in conclusion, I try to draw the attention of the readers on the importance of what is going on, the idea of Israelization of the United States, and through that, Israelization of the global configuration in such a way that they can have their supremacist Judaic government over the world. So if I want to summarize the fact, you can see them here. Judaism hijacked Western civilization. Zionism hijacked American development and wants to proceed to what? To Israelization of America. And let's be more precise, to the transformation of the United States of America into greater Israel, right? So if it happens and if it's successful, we are going to have the conversion of the whole world into a subcategory, subjugation. That's the idea of enslavement of humanity. Subcategory of the supremacist Hebrew global civilization, if we can call that civilization. I don't see anything civilized in that, but just for the sake of vocabulary. So that's why there is a serious warning in the conclusion in order to say that if something like that happens, if really the Zionism can take control of the United States, transform it into Greater Israel, and going toward the world by force, conquering the different countries, destroying the different nations, then we are going to have what we can call supremacist Zionist barbarism, right? Which is a way to get rid of the human civilization and human future. So that's it. That's the idea of this article. And I invite you, because there are many details on that, I invite you to go through the main version on www.ans.com. Find this article, read that if you want, and you can also put comments over there. And if there is a possibility, if I have time, of course I will answer to some of these comments as well. So this is one of the articles that I published in English language, and of course if I have time I will continue with other subjects, and I recommend this article, and I recommend you also, as I told you at the beginning, the website itself is very interesting, very rich, and you can find many sources of information over there. You can be in agreement with them or not. This is not the issue. The idea is to get to the new ideas, the new point of view, the new angle, the new point of view, and from that moment you can have a possibility to compare that with what you hear in the mainstream media and see what is really the truth somewhere in the middle of that. So in order to strike a balance between the mainstream media and alternative media, this website can be really a good source to start, and of course there are others in this category as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you in the next video.